Hello again, everybody. This is the Written Undead podcast. I'm Jack Childress. That's Jen Amato. I'm skipping through all the normal formalities I like to do at the beginning of these shows because I can't wait to start talking to this week's guest. We have, once again, Merrill freaking David, who I just love to pieces. And as an added bonus, we have his narrator for the Wicked Awake series, CJ Gray. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me. Thank you for coming.
Well, let's get this thing started off right now. You've just released book 4, which means CJ is going to be getting to work here really soon. And I want to know, how did this partnership take place? How did you two guys hook up? And CJ, more specifically, what was your initial impression on your first read through of Wicked Awake?
Well, we hooked up through ACX, which is it's part of the Amazon Audible family of websites. And when I auditioned for it, I just fell in love with what I was reading right away. I could tell that the story was a thinly veiled comparison to what was going on in the real world, as far as we'll call it the cerveza sickness. And I felt like if I were to ever write a story or a novel, the way Merrill wrote I felt like the way I would write it. So he's not afraid to say things that I think a lot of other authors would hesitate to say. And he's not afraid to make things happen in the story that I think a lot of authors would hesitate doing.
Well, there's a part in book 1 where Jake is going to the house where the young girl's at. Dewey's was it cousin or sister? Sister.
Yeah.
And he starts just wrecking all these zombies as he's making his way there. And you literally sang through that. And I thought that was so cool. That was just one of the coolest things I've ever heard in an audiobook. It's a narrator actually not just kind of speak the words and, convey what's happening here, but actually sang it. That was so cool.
Yeah, that's something you have to decide. A lot of narrators won't sing, and I get it. You're taking a risk, but it's a creative choice you have to make. And I felt like going for it, And
so now,
the author if the author wants you to give it a shot, then usually you go for it. But I think it worked out well.
It was great. And along those lines, I actually had a question for CJ. Have you read the whole thing yet? Because I do have a song in part 4. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I finished. I actually finished. Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you the most.
Okay.
I finished the pre-read yesterday, as a matter of fact, and okay. I recorded to the end of chapter 1, including the intro.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I did finish the pre-read. I love it. I love it.
I appreciate that. But so I think this is going to be the first book. I think every book I had you singing at least one song. It was usually, Kill Switch Engage. It was either metal, or I think I had you doing some classic rock, like Closing Time and stuff like that.
Right.
But, part 4, we went old school with this one. So I've got a part of Unchained Melody in there.
Oh no!
Oh, that's going to be a toughie.
So,
yeah,
that's a far cry from what you're used to doing. So,
right.
I was curious to see what you thought about that scene and that song. And I'm not going to ask you to give us a part of it, but I was just curious to see if you saw that.
Yeah, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Depends on how my voice is doing that day. And let me just quickly say, I've been up since 2 a.m. Eastern time. I woke up with, for a narrator, it's your worst nightmare to wake up with a sore throat. So if I seem a little delusional, it's because that's how I feel right now. But just to throw that out there. But yeah, book 4 in general was nonstop action. Not that the other 3 books weren't great, but this one in particular, the pre-read felt like it even though, I have a lot going on in my life, so I've been reading chunks as I can, but I'll tell you, reading 2 or 3 chapters together, it just flies by because it was just that good. And I'm not just saying that. It really was that good.
Thank you.
Excellent. Now, here's one of the things. Now, when you started doing the voices, trying to figure out how you want each character to sound, and my brain's freezing on me right now. Kind of like you, I've been up like way too early and didn't get enough sleep last night. But Jake's partner, the way you have him say Roscoe, I just love it. Where did the voices come from? Mac.
Oh,
thank you.
Yeah.
Temporary amnesia there.
I remembered. I get brownie points.
Yeah. Yeah. The voices are just, when I do a pre-read, I read the entire book out loud. So I'll work through all that stuff, during that phase. But unless the author has specific input, I'll just go with what comes intuitively. If there's accents involved, and I got to tell you, I've never claimed to be good at accents. That's not something I advertise when I'm trying to get work. But if it's obvious that a character has an accent, I'll give it a shot. I think it was book 3 where there's an Australian character. I've never done an Australian accent. Yeah. So I was listening to Australian podcasts while I went mountain biking to try to, and I'm talking to myself out in the woods. So if anybody's around, they think I'm just some crazy guy. But that's the only way I can do an accent. I've tried watching accent tutorial videos. They help, but unless I'm hearing like an actual natural conversation and like how the tempo of the conversation goes, because a lot of an accent is it's the rhythm of it. It's not so much the specific sounds, it's how the rhythm of their speech patterns is that makes all the difference. So so I went off on a tangent there about accents, but in general, the characters, they kind of form in my head. I can visualize who these people are, and I just put a voice to them. And unless someone, says they don't like my choice, then I just go with it.
Yeah, no, and you nailed that Australian accent too.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, you had me fooled. And then so so I threw a couple new characters in book 4. I got the extra flamboyant Pokey and the extra promiscuous. What the heck was her name again? I can't remember what her name was, but
that gets me off the hook. He actually wrote the damn book and can't remember a character's name.
I know.
Sometimes it works that way.
Yeah,
you got so many things going on.
Exactly. But so I threw a couple new characters in there. But yeah, I think once or twice you asked me what I was thinking about. I remember with Trenchcoat, you kind of asked me, what are you thinking for that guy? And I said, kind of make him sound like Randy Savage. But for the most part, yeah, I just kind of everything you come up with, CJ. I mean, I just listen to it. I'm like, yeah, that's good. So I trust you, man. I trust everything you do, and like I said, it's magic when it's done. I love everything you've done.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you, CJ. From just hearing you through my tablet here, with the way we're doing this today, I hear Jake. Like it was like you were born to do the voice of that character. I can hear that voice.
Yeah.
Every time you speak, I can close my eyes
I'm
and
sitting.
like you were Jake.
I'm just outside of Boston right now. I live in New Hampshire, but my girlfriend lives in Swampscott, Mass, which is right next to Boston. And so, southern New Hampshire has a lot of that Massachusetts influence in the way we talk. So I think that was one of the things I mentioned when I first auditioned for book 1 was that, I think I'll be able to do a good job with the main character as far as the Boston accent, and especially Anthony. I really get to lean into
Anthony.
it with Anthony, so he's really fun to do.
Yeah. I love the wee man.
Yeah. So you're exactly right. So you're exactly right. When I put this out and I was auditioning for book 1, that the voice that we're hearing now, that was the voice that I wanted. When I heard, so I've told this story before, but I put that out there the audition, and I only got four responses, 4 audition tapes back. First 2 absolutely horrible. I was like, oh fuck no. And then the third guy was good, and he's Patrick's narrator. He's really good. But he didn't have that accent. He didn't have that Boston accent in CJ. And then when I heard as soon as I heard yours, I'm like, that's fucking Jake right there. I mean, that was the voice I was looking for. And I was like, it's done. I shut it down.
Yeah. You have an idea of what your characters sound like in your head when you're writing them. And, you know, because I know just on my people have been asking me if I'm going to have a narrator for my book, and I'm just like, you know, yeah, I want to, but I have a specific idea of, especially since my main character is from UK, you know, and I have to have a specific, I have the person picked out. I just need her to get all of her stuff done through ACX and stuff. But I know, you know, on my second book, Stacy, I've got an idea, and it's like, I guess my question for you, CJ, would be, sometimes, like, I think it's funny when you men try to voice women.
Oh yeah,
because it's I mean, because like that'd be like me trying to voice a man that first of all, I have no idea what runs through your guys' heads, but like sometimes you
don't want to know.
I mean, I could take a guess and I'm probably right, and it's usually 3 S's, so maybe an E, but they're you know, because sometimes us women have a specific, like, each female, when we're having an attitude, okay means 5 different things depending on where the accent is in the okay and which letter we enunciate and whether we carry it out. Whether do we start okay or are we okay, or you know, it's how do you pull on that? Is that something that you take the cues from around in the book, and that's how you're okay?
Yeah, I mean, the context of the scene will guide you usually. And when it comes to doing a female voice, you know, I don't know if you're familiar with Scott Brick. He's probably one of the most famous narrators in the world.
No.
He's done, you know, over 500 books. He's
wow.
He's the guy that got me hooked on audiobooks, which is what led me to try to become a narrator. But his advice is don't overdo it, because you're going to drive the listener crazy. You just want to soften your voice a little bit and make it a little more breathy. People will still be able to tell it's you, that you're a guy doing it, but you're getting across that this character is female. And if you don't do such a terrible job that it really grates on people's ears, people will eventually just sort of forget that it's a guy doing a girl's voice, and you just, you know, you'll become immersed in the story, and that won't matter too much. So I've heard a lot of male narrators, they go too far and it doesn't work. You know, the listeners, and they'll let you know in the reviews. I think we all know that reviews can be pretty brutal. But that seems to be all you can do as a guy. And if as far as female narrators, if there's any females out there that want to narrate books, someone to listen to is Hillary Huber. She's a fantastic female narrator, and she can really make you believe that, you know, that the male character that she's voicing is not a woman doing a male's voice. It just works. Like, if you really stop and think about it, you'll be like, yeah, I can tell that's her doing the man's voice, but she's so talented that you just sort of forget about that, because the dialogue is so good, the conversation sounds so natural, and she's just really, really good at it. So she's one to study if you're a female narrator.
That's really cool.
Another one that I was really impressed by is the one that Merrill used for Fester. Man, she was great, and I'm actually a character in that book, so I'm not just hyping it because I'm in it. I'm hyping it because it's really damn good. But even when she was doing my voice, I was like, okay, I can work with that. Yeah. she was really good. And another one particular accent that we haven't discussed with you is your Deep South accent. You know, you're got this big heavy Boston accent, and you're able to drop right down to the Deep South. Like you got a piece of fried chicken in one hand and you know, some banana pudding in the other. It's like you're just ready to go.
And along those lines, CJ, before you answer that, but I was looking through your list of all the books that you've done, and first of all, in a little bit, tell us how many, because I was blown away. But when I was going through that list, I saw that you did a Western, and I was like, you got to be shitting me. But and I actually checked a sample out of it, and I was like, damn, that's pretty damn good. So have you just done that one Western, or were there several? And then tell us also, how many have you done all together?
I honestly, I don't know. I haven't taken the time to count. I just keep going. You know, I just take the work and just do it, and I don't really look back. And you know, when I first started narrating, I had zero experience, and you know, I can tell if I try not to do this because I cringe, but if I do happen to listen to some of my earliest stuff, it's really bad to me. But you know, I think I've spent a lot of time practicing because I want to be a great narrator, and I want to deliver a quality finished product because I know the authors put in a lot of hard work, and I want to match that effort and give them something to be proud of. But when it comes to like a Southern accent, I have to draw on people that I've seen on TV or series, and when it comes to certain, you know, even in the South, there's different dialects. You know, you'll get different accents, and so that can get tricky. And depending on how picky someone's going to be, you know, you can really get regional. But I just think of trying to remember his name now, and in that series House of Cards, Kevin Spacey's character. I hear his voice, and then I just emulate that and mimic Frank something is his character's name, right? In House of Cards. Anyway,
you didn't watch House of Cards.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
Oh, I know what it is. I've heard of it.
Yeah, that's a great series. But so that's how it works for me. I have to have someone in mind that I can hear their voice, and then I'll just kind of parrot that. And over time, it becomes more natural. Like anything, when you do an accent for the first time, it feels strange. Your tongue doesn't feel like it's working properly. But over time, you know, you'll be able to switch accents back and forth, and it becomes second nature, which is nice. And that's when the book will flow, you know. And the magic of editing helps too, I got to admit. It's not like I go through the book and it just in one shot, you know.
And it just lays down properly.
Right.
Yeah. So sometimes I feel like I'm less of a narrator and I'm more of an editor, because that's what takes all the time. It's extremely time consuming to make an audiobook when you're not just narrating it, you're actually producing it. Mm-hmm. You know, you have to go through and remove every mouth noise that you can pick up, because the mics are very sensitive. So every little click and pop that your mouth would make, mm-hmm. and the mic picks it up, and then your software amplifies it. You've got to get rid of that. And anytime you messed up a line, you know, you start the line over, and you have to go through and cut all those mistakes out, and then splice it all together so that it sounds natural. And it's a lot of work.
Quick comment.
Sorry, I keep going off on tangents. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
That's fine. That is fine. I mean, it's the first time getting to have you on the show, so we want to squeeze
We're
every
grateful.
drop out of you we can get, man.
Yeah.
But our good buddy Carl Meadows, who co-wrote a trilogy into the Adrian's Undead Diary series with Chris Philbrook, mm-hmm. says Daniel Cohen was excellent for my Lockie books with male characters, and he is 100% right. I've heard all three books, and she is wonderful at it.
I love her accent. And there were some things, I know me and Jack were talking about it. There's some things where we ended up saying that was because it's another she's Liverpool.
I think so. Yes, I think that's right.
Oh wow!
So,
Carl built it.
Yeah, it's way different, and she's just got a great voice, and it's kind of it's
oh
very
bloody hell!
Adele.
I literally thought that they were going to do something, and they literally got in my damn way.
It's Adele-esque. Is what it reminds me of. It reminds me of Adele when she's, oh, well, you know, I just can't, she just starts going, I can't do that really, can I? You know, and just, she's got that Liverpool accent, Adele does, because she can go back and forth. She tries to be posh, but she's really not. But I loved it. Yes, Liverpool accent, though Jack is doing Dick Van Dyke again. He's not the best at accents.
Man, I'm from Tennessee, man. What do you expect? Come on now. It's not like I'm gonna be able to break out with that.
Can you sing the chimney song from Mary Poppins?
Chimney. Well, damn it, got me to sing on camera again.
His girl, her voice sounds like it should be annoying, but it's not.
It's not.
It's not at all. And she actually did. She did very well with portraying an older male. It was so much fun. Mm-hmm. And I did get a private message from Jeff Thompson who said he's here. He can't comment though.
Yeah, he's banging his metal cup on the bar.
Yeah, he's in Facebook jail. He's been a bad boy.
Oh, okay.
And now he's got a really good narrator as well. I'll give a little shout out to it's Matthew Crow. And man, that guy's really good.
That's the guy. That was the third guy that auditioned for Wicked Wake. And like I said, he's really, really good. Mm-hmm. He wasn't quite Boston like CJ is, but he's really good. I think he does Patrick's too.
He does. Yeah, he does both. And you know what was so crazy? And I guess this is a pat on the back to a narrator. I'd listened to Jeff's books, and I've listened to After Z, book 1 and book 2. And until someone said something about it, because I didn't really catch it at the beginning when it says, narrated by, I just went right over the top of my head. And I'm like, wait, that was the same guy that does Jeff's books. And then so I went back and started listening to it again. And then it was one of them, I can't unhear it now. It's like, okay. Yeah. But he did so good in separating between Guardians of the Apocalypse and After Z and creating voices and everything for these characters and then voices for these characters to the point where I didn't even make the connection that it was the same guy.
That's good. Now, I want to ask you, CJ, how did you get started in narrating? Do you have to have like all this special equipment? I know you said at first you were you were cringeworthy to your own ears back when you first started. So if there's someone who's looking into getting into narrating, what would you recommend? Yeah, that whichever way he is.
There is a steep learning curve. So I had to familiarize myself with sound attenuation. So everyone thinks you need to create a soundproof environment, which is nearly impossible to do. And if you do attempt it, it's very expensive. So
that's what I'm running into.
Yeah, hopefully you live somewhere that's fairly quiet. Like I have to record at certain times of the day because in the world of suburbia, it's nonstop landscapers and leaf blowers or blue jays screaming outside your window. So you have to be strategic as to when you record. But you have to build yourself an environment that, for me, what works best is panels made that are stuffed with mineral wool and then covered in fabric. So that's the only way you're going to remove any what they call a boxy sound where there's too much echo. And then, you have to make sure above your head is insulated and you have to have some sort of carpeting on the floor because your voice, we think of a voice coming out of the front of your face, but it's really your whole skull is kind of vibrating. So the microphones are sensitive enough that they will pick up all those refractive sounds. And then when you amplify things to ACX specifications, it all comes through and it sounds terrible. It's very echoey sounding and it has that boxy quality. So I use mineral wool. That works great. Other people have I can't think of the product name. It's a a similar product, but it's more rigid and maybe a little easier to work with. I think it's an Owens Corning product, but so as far as your environment, that's what you have to do. You know, I basically built a cube that is made out of large panels filled with mineral wool. It's just a, 2x4 frames, put the mineral wool in, figure out, you come up with creative ways to secure it in place, and then wrap the whole thing in fabric, and then sort of assemble them into a cube. And as far as the equipment goes, when I first started, I thought I needed all kinds of fancy stuff. I had preamps and, fancy interfaces, and it turns out that I'm getting a better sound the more simplistic I make my setup. So I just have a pretty simple Scarlett. It's just a 2-channel interface, and that's just so you can have an analog microphone interface with a digital computer. It's just an in-between. And I use Adobe Audition as my DAW, a DAW, so that's your digital audio workstation.
Okay.
And the software has great tools that make, editing is always going to be time consuming, but this software makes it at least as easy as possible by having eraser tools that make it really easy to get very precise and remove any mouth noises, unwanted mouth noises. And as far as, so that's pretty much it for equipment. I did go through my fair share of microphones. It's tough to find the right mic. There is no best microphone. There's so many good ones, and you have to find the one that works with your voice. So some will be flattering to my voice, and some won't, because they come from the factory with a preset EQ internally, and you can adjust the EQ after the fact in post-production. But you want to get as close to perfect right off the bat, so you're not spending all kinds of time adjusting everything in post. So you got to experiment with microphones, which at the time I thought it would be a great idea if someone out there would create a microphone sample package where they would mail you 5 mics that you could try, and then keep the one that works, send the 4 back, and something like that would be great, because it is tough. You go to Guitar Center, you buy a mic, you try it, you bring it back, and you do that over and over again, or you order it online. Like I tried ribbon mics and condenser mics and shotgun mics, and you just have to find what works for you. But as far as how I got into narrating, I actually, when I got out of college, I kind of fell into a construction job that ended up, it was supposed to be a temporary job, but it turned into 2 decades of working in a boom lift by myself, day in, day out. So I discovered audiobooks that it just helped me get through the day. And I just became hooked. I listened to hundreds and hundreds of audiobooks. And one day I realized that I was ready to move on to something else. And I think someone, I don't remember who exactly, but someone just sort of suggested I look into narrating if I liked audiobooks so much. So I just started doing the research, and there wasn't a whole lot out there as far as tutorials. And I think there's a lot more now as far as maybe YouTube videos on how to get started. But at the time, there wasn't a whole lot. And I just went for it. I didn't know what I was doing. I just started auditioning. And unfortunately for those authors, I wasn't very good, but that's kind of what you need to do. Is it's a trial by fire thing. You can read out loud to yourself all you want to practice, but something different happens when it's an actual gig that you're doing for someone else. That mic will turn on and you'll feel the pressure all of a sudden. So when you're just reading for yourself out loud, you'll sound great because, psychologically you're relaxed. But as soon as you know that you're actually recording this and you have to work with it, you'll sound terrible, because your nerves kick in and your breathing becomes erratic, you know. So it does take a lot of time and practice and patience, and good writing always helps.
Absolutely. Now that brings up a very good question, I think. Have you ever been doing a narration for anyone, not necessarily just Merrill, but anyone, and you came across a line or a series of lines to where they just didn't flow for you? So you actually reached out to the author and said, hey, could I say it this way instead? Because the way you've written it, it's not really flowing right.
I have done that. And it's not an easy thing to do because you don't want to offend someone. There have been times where I've just gone ahead and said it differently without getting permission, and I just figured if they have a problem with it later, I'll just correct it and put it back the way it was. That's another thing that I don't mean to keep bringing him up, but Scott Brick, great narrator, one of his other pieces of advice is to totally, you know, if it's called for, don't be afraid to disrespect the punctuation or the grammar. Like, if it doesn't sound right the way it's written, just say it the way it should sound. And if they have a problem with it, you can change it later. But it helps with the flow. Like, you know, I'll come across sentences where in normal speech, something would be said with a contraction, but it's written out as two words and it doesn't sound natural. So I'll just create the contraction on the fly, you know. So instead of do not do that, I would just say don't do that.
Don't do that. Mm-hmm.
So I take liberties when it comes to reading, because it, you know, when you're doing a dialogue scene, you know if it sounds natural or not. So
exactly. And the listener's going to pick up on that. You know, they're going to be like, that didn't even sound right, you know, and, you know, people don't talk like that or whatever, you know. It's like sometimes don't is needed instead of do not. And in other cases, do not should replace don't, you know.
Right.
And I catch that.
Yeah,
because,
like if it's someone's trying to emphasize, you know,
right.
Like, do not do that, you know, that's called for in that instance. And it, you know, and I'm not criticizing any author. I think what they do is it's hard. It's really hard, and you're trying to please as many people as possible, which is, you know, we all know that's impossible. But when I first started narrating, I had to come to terms with the fact that I had to find a balance between enunciation and normal speech. Because when you first start learning about narrating, some people will say you really need to pronounce each word clearly for the listener. Well, that ends up sounding really bad.
Yeah, robotic.
And I started off doing that. So when I say I cringe at my early stuff, that's pretty much what I'm talking about. Is I'm enunciating too much, and it sounds almost robotic. You know, it's not good.
That's what I'm fighting with right now, because like I said, I'm not set up yet, obviously, to actually start recording for Angel. But I'm still I'll break my mic out, set everything up, and I'll just record some stuff, listen back to it. And I'm doing that, like, because his is a lit RPG, so I'm almost overdoing it, you know, like, because, you know, you'll get into points where he's just breaking down, you know, city population, how much drachma he has, and I'll get real stern about he has 3,700 people, and it's like, okay, dude, you ain't got to do all that. And then I'll do it anyway, and it's like, stop doing that, calm down.
Well, if it's called for, you know, if it's supposed to be, you know, an AI voice or an almost robotic voice, then that's okay. But I found what helped me as far as dialogue, because that's really where you make or break a book, you know, is dialogue. And I still have work to do on that. I take lessons from other narrators that are better than me to try to get better at dialogue. But I'm trying to figure out how to best explain this. Instead of it, this sounds silly, but how much you have the manuscript zoomed on your screen makes a difference as to how you read it. So the bigger you have the text and the more in your face it is, then you're going to start reading word by word. So I've learned that I have to kind of zoom the text out, and I can sort of not, you know, those magic eye posters way back in the day where you'd have to unfocus your eyes in order to see the image inside the pattern. It's similar to that, but you don't go to that extreme. You want to sort of not focus on each word, but you'll be able to see the sentence in its entirety, or at least half of the sentence, and then you'll be able to speak in a normal, natural speech pattern, because you can see all the words and how they're tying together before they start coming out of your mouth. Does that make sense?
Basically don't have a word surprise you. You're reading along and all of a sudden you stumble because you weren't ready for the next thing you were supposed to be saying. That makes total sense. So
the context of the sentence becomes a little more clear. And even if you've done a pre-read, you're not going to remember every single sentence, you know, that you read. So you do have to kind of develop this skill where your brain is able to look ahead and see what's coming before it comes out of your mouth, so that it can make sense in the context of what's happening.
Okay, well, I'm going to make a quick pivot because we're sitting here with one of my favorite authors of all time, just kind of chilling off on the bench, you know, waiting to get the call from the coach to get in here, take a few shots.
Hey, Merrill. I'm having a blast listening to CJ.
I'm telling you, man, this guy is awesome.
Yeah.
He's freaking awesome. But now, what I want to know, you've got another idea for something you're about to start writing on. Want to tell everybody a little bit about that? Kind of get their juices flowing for it?
I can't wait to hear this.
Yeah, so CJ, I was hoping that you'd be interested in this, but this is what I'm working on now. You know, I've gotten to where I do Wicked Awake every other book, you know, so I don't get burned out on the zombies. Not that I don't love the zombies, but I like to mix it up a little bit. So I did, you know, Fester I did last year. So what I'm working on now is it's a paranormal horror, sort of splatterpunk, sort of extreme, all those things combined. But basically, it's going to be about a guy who's basically he's a roller coaster enthusiast, and he loves to go to his amusement parks. And then there's going to be a lot of ghostly things that happen in those parks, and a lot of extremely horrific maybe accidental deaths in these amusement parks. So that's kind of what I'm working on now. It's called Season Pass, and I'm hoping it'll be done around February. But I would love for CJ to narrate that one if he can find time on his calendar.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll let you read it first.
Yeah,
of course.
I'm definitely interested, and don't feel like you have to offer it to me. I mean, you know, if you want to have auditions, I'm not going to be offended. But it does that sounds like something right up my alley. I love that type of stuff.
So once again, I like with Fester, that was set up in Rhode Island, in Mass, and then so is Season Pass. I'm basing it off of an amusement park that used to be in Rhode Island, and it closed down, and supposedly it's haunted. So RDZ is a Rhode Island native, so your accent would be just perfect. So if, like I said, I don't need to go any further. You're the guy if you want it.
Nice, yeah, let's do it.
Cool.
Hot dog, right here. Live breaking news on the Written Undead podcast this week. CJ Gray will be doing Merrill's next book. That is awesome.
Nice. Very
good. That's exciting.
And I got a thing about consistency with narrators. Now, for Fester, it made total sense to go with a woman because the main character was a woman. There's a lot of female interaction. Therefore, go with a woman. But I also kind of look at it as almost like the Mark Tufo thing. Everything he's got is one guy. It's all Sean Renette. Every single book. And as a listener, I embrace that kind of stuff. Like, I get used to when I listen to a Mark Tufo book, I know it's a Mark Tufo book because Sean Renette. And now, like when I listen to a Wicked Awake, if he were to switch narrators because, you know, God forbid an asteroid fell on you, CJ, or anything crazy like that, I don't know how it would feel, you know, going forward because you get used to that voice. Right. And there's like something where you can't have Wicked Awake without CJ Gray. You can't. It won't work at all. And
Zach, you know what I would do in that situation? I'd say, fuck it. It's not going to be an Audible anymore. We'll just do the paperback and the ebook. That's it.
How about that? Now that's high praise right there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
But I mean, it is just a thing though. And that's why I'm so happy that you and Merrill hooked up, because you've brought something to Wicked Awake that his writing, I mean, because like I said, I'm reading 4 because you haven't finished 4, and I haven't got to hear any of 4. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And I can hear your voice as I'm reading it. And that's kind of a big deal, you know, like if I were reading it and it was just my voice I was hearing in my head, they don't really say anything. But as I'm literally reading this, I'm hearing you doing Mac. I'm hearing you doing Jake. I'm hearing you doing everybody. And it's just like, that's embedded. That's forever. That'll never go away. And so to know that you're going to do...
Every audiobook lover has encountered, you know, that scenario where you're listening to a series, then all of a sudden it's a different narrator for whatever reason. I mean, you know, things happen in life, and but it is jarring, and it kind of, for me personally, it has ruined certain series for me, because I can't get into it.
Everything's
changed now. It's like a different dimension almost.
Yep. And that actually happened
to
that happened to Chris Philbrook with his Adrian's Undead Diary series, which is, you know, it's an 8-book long series, and then all of a sudden he has a new narrator. But he got lucky in that the new narrator that he has sounds close enough that you don't notice it as bad. You do notice it, but after a chapter or 2, you're okay. You're good. All right, you're doing fine. You know, Adrian sounds like Adrian. We're good. Let's go.
Yeah,
but
that's a fortunate circumstance. Like, you know, if someone can get within range of the sound previous, then, and it works great. But I've experienced this series where the new narrator was, you know, polar opposite from the original narrator, and it just threw me. It just turned me off to the whole thing.
Well, so that would make me question.
I think narrator continuity is important.
And well, that would make me question the author. Like, okay, wait a minute. You know what your books sound like, and you auditioned people, and you went with this one? Really?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just insane.
Yeah.
Oh, and we got a text from Carl, who, of course, is good friends with Chris.
And then
that was beyond Chris's control, too. That was the narrator's choice to exit. And that's just a dumb decision. That's a dumb decision. Not from that series. I mean, for Pete's sake, it's Chris freaking Philbrook. You won't walk away from that.
Yeah.
I swear. But like I said, you know, falling back on my original point, this is why I'm so happy that today on today's show, we got the big reveal that you're going to be doing the paranormal book for Merrill, because the voice will still be the voice. You know, it'll be the sound that we become accustomed to when listening to a Merrill David book, Fester aside. But I'm going to say this up front, too. If you do another book, I said with a female main character, you definitely need to go to her again if she's up to doing it.
Yeah, and I would. And I do have one, and maybe 2 years down the road, I do have one in mind with the female main character again. So yeah, I'll reach out to her. I don't know if she'll want to do mine again. Like I said, she had to assume that alias name just to do Fester because it was so fucked up, and she didn't want people to know who did it. So I don't know if she'd be wanting to take on another one, but we'll see. I'll ask her. But I thought she nailed Fester, though. I really did.
Her ability to get through chapter 10 gets her a gold star in my book. I'm telling you, made it all the way through that thing. Now, we don't know how many retakes she may have had.
Right.
But...
Don't know how many times she had to stop and.
And and that happens for laughing too. I can't tell you how many times I'm reading and I burst out and laugh there, because, you know, if the writing's good, you will have a visualization.
You'll have reactions.
Yeah. You just, you know, you're only human, and sometimes I'll leave if it's a little bit of a laugh. I'll leave it. I think it's good. I think the listener enjoys knowing that their narrator, you know, is a person. Not
okay.
a piece of software.
I think I have actually picked up when you've done that.
What's that?
I like it.
I said, I think I've actually picked up a time or two when you've done that. I just didn't think that much of it. I just thought that was how you meant to say it. But there's like a little
sometimes it's totally involuntary. You just can't help but kind of bust out in a little bit of a laugh, because, you know, and that's the sign of good writing right there.
Well, and I like that too, because like you said, if the listener hears that and they're like, "Dang, this guy's having a good time," they're gonna have a blast too. They're gonna be like, "Man, it's fun." You know?
He must really enjoy this book, you know, and I think that's extremely important, because if you aren't enjoying the book, why are you doing it?
Exactly.
You know, why are you putting us through that misery if you don't enjoy the book? So it's I love that. I think it it gives, you know, it humanizes the book, it humanizes the narrator, it humanizes the writer. And you know, when people hear that, oh, well, CJ's having such a good time with this book, and you know, Merrill must really be killing it. So, you know, I'm definitely going to try and figure this out. I've never been an audible type of person. Audiobooks to me, I'm so ADHD. It's just background noise.
Right.
So for me, it's really hard, but I have been listening. Like I'll go back and forth, or if I'm rolling cigarettes, I listen to Merrill David, and I don't know why.
Because you're probably gonna need a cigarette before that thing's over with.
I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, Jake, you go, you know, come on, Mac, you know, where's Roscoe? I'm just sitting there, I'm rolling cigarettes, and it's I actually do pay attention, but I'm still getting something done. So it's, for me, audiobooks are not, but I you know, if I can sit there and I'm laughing when you're laughing, we got this. It's a great book. You know, it makes me feel better too, because I know I'm insane, but you know, it doesn't make me feel too terribly insane if I laugh at something inappropriate.
Right. And there are some narrators that work for big publishers that they're not allowed that freedom. They have to narrate
get that.
What's called they have to do what's called word perfect. You have to you can't insert your own chuckle sound before a line, or you have to, if you want to do that, you have to incorporate the laugh into the word, you know. So there's it can be very strict, but there's a narrator called Will Patton. He's the guy who made me feel unafraid to go ahead and let some of my personality shine into the narration.
That's wonderful.
That guy, if you have an opportunity to listen to any of the books he's narrated, I mean, he's done a lot of Stephen King's books, but he's done some pretty obscure stuff too, that you can tell he's just having the best time as he's narrating, you know?
Yeah. It does wonders for those of us who listen.
Yeah. All right. Well, totally random thing, because
there's a surprise.
Right. When y'all brought up Roscoe, that brings me back to thinking about the headgear that he has.
Oh, yeah.
Red zombies with.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a little confused on that, because I can't picture it for some reason.
Well, this is Merrill's opportunity to help you picture it, because I was going to ask, did you do any like research into how you would make something like that to go onto a Malinois that they could actually wear and shred something with it?
Yeah, I mean, basically I was thinking, okay, so I've got these, you know, these hybrid creatures that are half animal and half zombie, and that's because they've become infected. So how do I have Roscoe out there slaying these zombies and tearing them up with his teeth and not getting all their nasty fluids in him? And how is he not getting infected? I'm like, okay, but I still want him to be part of the action. You know, he's a police dog. He wants to go out there and tear these fuckers up. So I have him. I'm like, okay, let's put a muzzle on him so he's keeping his mouth shut, and he's not ingesting all that vile filth. And yet and I got blades on it. So there's like 4 blades, like 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. And so he's protected. That it's not going in his mouth, but he's still out there. He thinks he's chewing, he thinks he's eating, but it's those blades that are just shredding these fuckers up.
That's exactly what I was picturing. So I wasn't far off. I thought maybe I was like, am I screwing something up in my head? But thank you.
Yeah. Well, it was when you first introduced them. I guess I was just reading or listening, you know, kind of like she said, I wasn't paying enough attention to it. But for some reason, I was almost picturing like these jaws coming out with the teeth. So it looked like a T-Rex head kind of a thing, you know. But then later you did describe it, and it was like, okay, wait, never mind. Okay, they're on the outside. That makes more sense, because he can swing his head and chop them up.
It was tough to describe that, you know. But yeah, that's kind of what I was looking for. Is maybe kind of like I forget how I described the blades. They're not like lawnmower blades, but they're kind of more like kind of like spikes.
Yeah.
Well, they're like titanium teeth or something, right?
Something like that. I think I had them titanium, but something like that.
Yeah, there's some great weaponry. You know, the Louisville slicer. that I can really picture that. That one's easy to picture. And it's probably not a bad thing to have hanging around in real life.
No doubt.
Exactly.
Well, real quick, who is our little friend in your lap, Merrill?
Oh, this is FAC. It stands for, it's FAC. It's Fat Angel Cat.
Oh,
one of the kids named him. But anyways, he's like a mini polar bear.
He is a big one.
He weighs about 25 pounds, I think. He's a big boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's huge.
He's adorable.
He doesn't have any Maine Coon in him?
I don't think so.
He is definitely a big one.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Now, how old is he?
He's like 10 or something like that. And then I got my little buddy Vinny is over there sleeping, my little Chewing. So, but yeah. Oh, I came up with the new female character's name. It's Camila Camelot. I almost said Camelot. Camelot. Camila Camelot. So
is she the Romanian?
Yeah. And she's the new.
Because as I was reading through, because she does have a few lines, and I stop as I'm going through, and so I look up Romanian accent, and it basically sounds like the Count Dracula from Sesame Street type of accent.
Well, I know you got a sore throat, but could you give us a sample of that?
Oh, now you're really putting me on the spot.
I haven't been able to answer.
I'm just picturing the Muppet or whatever he's called. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. That Romanian Count Dracula.
A little softer because it's a girl.
Very nice.
Being Romanian, it could be that sound like that as
well.
Oh
yeah, you're right.
No,
you're
I
right.
was doing the actual Count Dracula there.
Oh,
yeah.
So I would translate that into however I decide she should sound.
Yeah.
Oh, so we still haven't settled on that yet. Oh,
no,
good stuff.
no.
Good
Hey,
stuff.
you can't give everything away.
No. No, and there's a lot that happens in book 4. I mean, I was shocked at times, and that's what's great is there's no fear in upsetting people. I don't want to.
I want to know how many
alerts,
times.
but
How many times have you said, "God damn it, Merrill"? Because I know when I was listening or reading the book, I was like, "God damn it, Merrill!" What?
No, but
that might be a good counter.
Yeah.
But you're exactly right. And it's only going to get, as we get closer to the finale, books 5 and 6. You're going to see a lot of things that are happening there that I don't know if other people would. And a lot of it, like you said, CJ, a lot of these things I think we can kind of assimilate to what we're seeing in the real world nowadays, which is scary that my book is not far-fetched from what we're really seeing in real life. So.
No, there's a lot of parallels. Yeah.
Well, the thing that I really dig the most about Wicked Awake is, first off, we know when it's going to end. So we know there's a plan. Now, have you made any recent alterations to said plan?
No, I'm still looking at 6 being the finale. The only question now, and I'm pretty much, I've already killed. I don't know how many people I killed in book 4. I mean, I wasted a bunch. Book 5, there's going to be a lot more that die. I'm bringing a couple new ones in. But for the 2 new ones that I brought in book 4, I probably killed about 30. So,
wow.
Now I'm narrowing down the list of characters, but yeah, I'm still looking to close it off at 6. And like I said, if anyone survives the whole series, it may be 3 or 4 people at the most. And I'm thinking maybe someday I start a new series, and maybe those characters will reemerge in that series. But all that is still kind of up in the air. But that's kind of the plan right now.
Of course, I've told you this in the past, and I'll just say it again, just so it's on public record. I need you to do 7 because that will make it fit over that window correctly. And I don't know if CJ knows this, because obviously these are all actual books hanging behind me here, and there's quite a few of them, and I've got some more. Wow. I still got to get hung. But across the room above the window is the Wicked Wing. I gave Merrill his own spot for that series.
Wow.
Well, with the size of the window, if he goes 6 books, I'm going to get into a centering issue. But if he'll go 7, I don't even have to move the 3 that are up there. I just go 1, 2, 3, 4. and it spreads out. So yeah, I'm asking for a 7th book out of selfishness. I admit that.
Well,
okay.
I may have the solution for that, Jack. And my cover for 7 is going to be a little bit different, to where you might want to have it to where the whole book cover is opened up wide, and that takes up space.
Oh, now I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay,
So that's the cover for book 7.
Hell to the yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So now we've established that we got the Wicked Awake series. It's chugging right along like it needs to, and we love it. We got Fester out there in the wild for everybody to check out. Chapter 10, Be Damned. And now we know we've got a paranormal book coming out at some point, and CJ Gray's going to be involved in that. Do you have any other ideas festering beneath the surface?
I've got a short story that's coming out in July. B.L. Blankenship is putting together an anthropology. Is that what it's called? Anthology? What the hell is it? Anthology?
Anthology.
One of those
Anthology. Anthropology is something different.
He's coming out with a big ass A-word book, and there's a bunch of stories in it. And it's Western horror. And so I'm going to have a story in that book. The book is going to be called Shut Up and Bleed.
And that cover's crazy.
Yeah, it's a sick cover. So that'll be out there in July. And then Season Pass, and then the second half of next year I'll do Wicked 5. I've already got that cover too, and so I'm excited about that one. And then I think that's probably about all I'll get in next year, but that's about it. Oh, and then we got our big Texas Author Con.
I was about to go right there.
Yeah, so in July we'll be doing the Texas Author Con Part 2 in Dallas, and Jen's going to be there. I think I'm hearing Jack's going to be there.
I'm going to be there. I'm bringing Lee Edwards. We possibly might have in tow with us in the van Scott Baker and Rich Restucci as well.
Awesome. That'd be awesome.
We'll see.
That'd be great. So it's going to be a great time. It's going to be about 55 authors, and we're also going to have a room for panel discussions and readings and all kinds of stuff in there. And then I haven't invited him yet, but maybe CJ will come down and enjoy our conference with us. I don't know. That's a long ways down from New England, but
as we'll say, a little further than Tennessee.
This is all assuming that there isn't a nuclear, Armageddon, right?
Between now and then, that's a year, or good, almost a year before it's July of next year. So you never know what can happen.
Yeah,
good point. But but that's about all I've got going on. I think that's about it.
Okay,
that's a lot.
To the
yeah,
man. I said, up until I got hit by a tornado a few years ago, I pretty much didn't go anywhere, didn't do anything, just stayed home. Since then, well, there's this, and I've since been to Missouri, and I am so psyched about getting to come hang out in Dallas, freaking Texas. I've barely gone into Kentucky, barely gone into Alabama. Now I can put Missouri and Illinois on the map because, I snaked through there. Okay, anyway, so, man, the Texas AuthorCon, I am so psyched for that thing, man. And you've got so many authors lined up, and it just seems like they just keep dropping in more and more all the time.
Yeah, and so actually, as I was looking through CJ's list of books the other day, I saw a familiar name to me. So Patrick Harrison is one of the guys really into extreme horror, and I didn't know. I saw one of CJ's books, and it was one of Patrick's books. And I was like, I didn't know that. Remember which one that one is, CJ? I think it was you and another narrator did something for Patrick Harrison. It was like extreme horror. I don't even know when.
Look it up.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, there's gonna be a lot. There's a lot of pretty big names out there. I'm trying to get the real big names in extreme right now are probably like Daniel Volpe.
Yep.
Was that the book Visceral, maybe?
Yeah.
Visceral. Yep.
Yes.
And who has the one Fuck This House or Man Fuck This House? That's the name.
Yeah,
Man Fuck This House.
Assman, Brian Assman, I think.
Brian Assman. There we go.
But then Aaron Beauregard is up in New England as well. Him and Volpe, and those guys are. I'd love to see those guys come down, but yeah, there's a lot of really big names in the show.
Well, we're just going to have to start pestering the crap out of them. We got plenty of time to get ready for that. Well, now, guys, this hour went really fast. I mean, it went really fast. And they always say, man, time flies when you're having fun. And I definitely had a great time today. Jen, did you have a great time today?
I always do.
Merrill, was it fun, bro?
I had a blast. Yeah, sure did.
CJ, first time to get to meet you. Oh, sorry, I got excited. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying thanks to CJ for coming on, because I remember, Jack, I remember a long time ago, Jack, you asked me, you said, hey, you said, Merrill, you think your narrator will come on this show? And I said, there's no fucking way. There's
yes,
no
he did.
way
Yeah.
that I can get this kid on this show. And
and then
when
here he is.
I asked him, and he said, yeah, I'll do it. I was like, no way.
Sweet.
So
I'm it's my first podcast. So
really?
Hey, got that cherry popped.
Yeah, I'm sort of a recluse.
She said it.
I just stay in my booth and I record and I just leave the world to itself.
That's pretty cool.
Well, then hopefully then when the paranormal book gets done, and of course 5 gets done and 6 gets done, just come back with Merrill each time, because my goal is every time he drops a new book, he's getting on this show, because, you know, bias aside, he is one of my favorite authors, and there's no exaggeration in that. I freaking love his work.
Yeah, and now that I know it doesn't hurt, I'll be happy to
It's painless.
Well, we'll try harder on that next time. But the thing is, I hadn't brought it up this show, so I'm going to make sure I get it out there. Merrill David has a way with words that I have never read with any other author. And like I said, I love Mark Tufo, love Stephen King, Dean Koontz, Courtney Constantine, blah, blah. I mean, just name them. I love them. This guy has a way of saying things that are just laugh out loud hysterical.
Yeah, sure does.
It's just nuts. It's like I would like to take a tour through his mind, but then I think better of it.
Probably not.
Listen, I'm in awe of his never-ending supply of what I would call like pet names for the zombies. Every time they get referred to, it's like, the intestine interns, or
larynx lickers.
He comes up with these colorful ways of naming them in a different way every time. I love it.
I'm sure that probably might have been from his law enforcement days, because we used to do that stuff in the jail. When we've got the people coming in and they want to the tough dynamic duo, or the pukey boys, over here, whatever, the drunk prom queens, or you come up with stuff like that because you're trying to, you don't remember their names, you're trying to explain who they are to other people. You're like, yeah, that guy needs his temperature checked. He said something about being sick. He's the one drooling all over himself. But a lot of that, I think, might come from law enforcement.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. That and my brain tumor that I had removed, I think that did added a little bit creativity to my brain as well. But I still like Pancreas Pirates a lot. I don't know.
Yes,
that was good. That was good. All right, well, guys, we're going to wrap this thing up. Me and Jen will be getting picked up by the guys in the white coats here in a little bit and hauled off to the padded room.
They're on their way. I got the text.
Yeah, me too. They said, don't bother running. You have a tracking device.
Yeah.
We'll be all right. So with that being said, Merrill David, where can everybody find you, brother?
Facebook, Instagram, the Tickety Talk Machine, and Texas Author Con. We've got our Facebook group, and then I'm on a new Facebook group as well called the H-Bomb, Horror Books on My Mind. So check that out if you get a chance. That covers everything, zombies, all kinds of horror authors and writers. CJ, you're welcome to get on there and check that stuff out as well. But
great.
That's definitely an up-and-coming group right there. That thing is getting members pretty steady.
It's growing. It's brand new, but it's growing, and I'm kind of more aiming it towards the indie authors, because they get enough love from their publishers and all that stuff. So this is for the people who have a lot smaller voices, so they can get it out there and kind of talk about their stuff and get some links dropped every once in a while.
And I guess since CJ isn't an author, but if you wanted to get people to go grab some of the audiobooks that you were in, how would they go about doing that?
You can just, if you have the Audible app, you can just search CJ Gray, and pretty much everything I've done will pop up.
Fantastic.
I want to say, I know you got to run, everybody.
No, go ahead.
I had one guy, I did a takeover the other day on Written Undead. I had one of my readers said that he listened to the Wicked Awake Audible book. And after he heard CJ's voice, he loved the way you did that book so much. He went to go research all of the books that you've done, and now he's checking those out. I don't know where he started, but
wow,
that's
wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah,
heck
that's
yeah.
Well,
that's what this is all about. You know, get the word out there. You know, traditionally published is fine. Yeehaw, good for those folks.
Right.
Man, indie's where it's at. This is where
it really is.
The freedom is here. You can do what you want. No restrictions, just have at it and just enjoy writing and entertain the fans. And that's what we hope to promote every single week here on the Written Undead podcast. So for Jennifer Amato, Potato, Tomato, Amato, CJ Gray, narrator extraordinaire, and my Merrill David. By the way, one quick, more flash.
Yeah. Yes.
This has been the Written Undead podcast. We will see you guys next week. Peace out.
Take care.